Hello everyone. Today is Thursday, October 2nd, 2025 at 10:12 a.m. in the morning. Excuse me. Sorry. So, yesterday I was tired ever since more like yesterday afternoon, and sorry that I did not get to live stream last night, but I did a regular video. I just needed a break and some downtime from being strained and stressed from the harassment and attacks and stuff. And so that's why I just did a regular video. But I'm debating on whether or not I'm gonna live stream right after I do this video, and maybe also try to live stream tonight. So but it was like a week or two ago, someone gave me a super chat of $100. So that helped the YouTube payment a great bit, so I think that's the highest payment that I've gotten this year. So so thank you to that person. Even though a lot of times I tell y'all, when I ask for help, I try to tell y'all, I try to ask if y'all can send it to the PayPal, CashApp, Venmo, or my Ko-fi, because the SuperThanks super chat, I don't get until the following month on the somewhere between the 21st and the 25th, But that $100 super chat, SuperThanks, it was a big help for me to, whenever I get it, on the somewhere approximately around the 21st, But even though I needed the hotel funds, at that moment, to try to get off the streets and stuff, Excuse me. So thankfully, I'm supposed to get. Well, you know what? I probably should keep it private because even though I don't earn much or get much, but I guess a lot of people when they earn income, a lot of times they keep it quiet, or they're not really obligated to tell people how much they earned, But I don't know. The stalking cult criminals are trying to coerce for me to feel obligated to publicize every penny I earn or every penny I have. And it's like, and at least it's legal. It's not a crime to earn money on YouTube, but the ways that they're getting money by torturing, harassing, and abusing and stalking people and spreading lies and doing evil, that's a crime. And they're not gonna tell how they're earning money. Getting money. I never in my life heard of people getting paid to commit crimes or commit crimes and get rewarded for it. And it's supposedly what they say sanctioned by the police. So, but yeah. So, but anyway, but it's like, but yeah, my brain is still kind of scattered and like jumbled up. So last night I went to bed, I think it was 9:30. I could be wrong, but I think I did go to bed at 9:30, between 9:30 and 10 o'clock last night. And I slept good, but I think I had to keep getting up and use the bathroom multiple times. I guess more fluid draining from my legs, but I slept pretty good. And I woke up at after 8:30. I think it was about 8:40, the final wake up, because I had to, keep using the bathroom and then going back to sleep, or I would just wake up and go back to sleep multiple times, like after the morning, like after 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, I guess because of me sleeping a little bit and then waking up multiple times, because I just, trying to make sure make sure I won't be too late. Make sure I wouldn't wake up after breakfast was over, So, well, what I had for breakfast this morning, I was looking for the flavored oatmeal, but they still had the fake original kind, with no flavor. So I just didn't get the oatmeal this morning. So I had 2 miniature banana nut muffins, and I had the scrambled eggs and sausage. And, well, they were kind of low on the whole milk, so I had 2 little cups of the 2% milk. Well, I'm glad it tasted fresher than what the milk tasted yesterday. I got the milk from the whole milk yesterday, and it just it tasted like it was gone bad, and I almost puked. But anyway, so today I got like every juice but the orange juice and mixed it together. Like I got the apple juice, cranberry juice, and the lemonade, but I did not do the orange juice today, and it tasted a whole lot better. But then, I went to grab some hot cocoa, hoping that I could drink some later. But I saw that they had a pecan praline flavor of coffee, and it's like, well, I didn't realize they had all these different flavors of the coffee, And I used to drink coffee when I was in my 20s, but the abusive fake foster mom, Adrian Felder, she worshiped Coke like it's God, but she thought she had the authority to forbid me and not allow me to drink coffee just because I was excited about the Costa Rican coffee and it had something to do with Spanish, and she didn't want me associated with anything Spanish, but it was her idea, even though I was a kid and interested in Spanish when I was 10 and 11 years old. And she got me those Spanish cassette tapes. And then I wanted to go to college and major in biology pre-med and be a doctor. Oh, it was her idea for me to go to a certain university and major in Spanish. And at first I rejected. I'm like, no, I want to do biology pre-med. I want to be a doctor. But her and so many other people used to try to tell me that I don't have the mentality or the sense to be a doctor. And they tried everything they could to like sabotage my dreams in hopes of someday becoming a doctor. And I wanted to be an OBGYN. I had that dream. I had that career goal since I was 12 years old in 7th grade. I wanted to be a doctor, and for many years I had desires and wishes and attempts. That was like my main focus. I wanted to go into the military. I wanted to be I wanted my career to be like an OBGYN in the Air Force. And they just shut down everything. Of course, I would have liked to, maybe have minored in Spanish and like have like, or maybe double major or something like that. But they shut down everything I dreamed or wished for, you know. And then so, you know, everybody was like, the foster mom thought she had the authority to not allow me to go to Costa Rica, and I was in my 20s, and well, I went anyway, you know. But she tried to tell me, you know, like, I'm like, Mom, it's okay if I, you know, get to go to study abroad in Costa Rica. And she told me no. I said, well, why not? You know, it will help me, you know, become more fluent and this and that and whatever. She's like, all right, Candy, well, now when you die in Costa Rica, don't come back and call me, because I'm not going to come all over there. I'll come all the way over there and identify your body. And I said, well, how am I going to call you and I'm dead? And then she got mad and said, you know what, Candy, get out of my house. And she's like, now how am I going to call you? Now how you going to call me and you dead? I'm like, but you're the one who said it. And then we had an heated argument or whatever, you know. But, you know, I went to Costa Rica anyway. But I struggled and didn't have that great of a time in Costa Rica. But I'm grateful for the experiences that I had in solitude, by myself, not around people. Like going out and exploring in nature, you know, I had got along better with that than being around people, you know. And so, but when I got back from Costa Rica, foster and biological family members acted like they weren't interested, in anything I had to say or show about Costa Rica or anything like that, you know. And the products that I bought and that I ordered, they pretended to fake like they weren't interested, like some of the sauces and drinks and candy or you know, coffee or whatever, you know. And the fake foster family, you know, in 2006 after Hurricane Katrina, you know, they condemned me and thought they had the authority to not allow me to drink coffee and stuff. So, and I was an adult, I was of age, you know. So, because of that, you know, I don't really drink coffee that much. But out of curiosity, I just wanted to see what the praline pecan flavored coffee tasted like. But, you know, I didn't put as much cream or sugar as I really would have wanted to, you know. But I don't want to make a habit of drinking coffee, you know. But, you know, I drank some today. You know. Or shall I say, I drank some today. DRANK. Drank some today, you know. But yeah, well, if I can help it, I'm gonna try to not eat lunch today and just, you know, wait until dinner. You know. But it was just one cup of coffee. But I sometimes, like, excuse me, at the Korean restaurants and stuff, I don't go to those that often, but I used to go almost daily in Pensacola. They had one downtown. It was Korean and Japanese fusion restaurant. And they had such great food. Well, it depends on the season, or it depends on who the workers are, because sometimes the workers were able to make the food taste really good, and then other times you wonder who the hell's in that kitchen screwing up the food, you know, or can't cook. But yeah. So But anyway, I probably shouldn't have drunk that coffee because I'm feeling a little weird right now. But I'm all right. I'm gonna be all right. But kind of feeling like I don't know if I'm asleep. I mean, I don't know if I'm sleepy or awake. You know. But one thing I try to stay away from energy drinks. And I be trying to, like, I usually do, you know, I stay away from caffeine and energy drinks and stuff like that, you know, mostly. But every now and then I might have some coffee. Every once in, I don't drink coffee that much, you know, unless if I'm, you know, dealing with, like, when I was going to PJ's Coffee. And, you know, when I was going to PJ's Coffee. And, you know, and if I buy up, you know, a certain amount of food over a period of time, food and drinks over a period of time, and then after a while, if I get 200 points, then I can redeem it. No, I'm sorry, like 100 or 125 points, then I can redeem it for like a coffee or something like that. And I usually get like the lemonade or the hot cocoa, I mean the frozen hot cocoa or whatever. But on rare occasions I have gotten, like a couple of times I've gotten the coffee or whatever, you know. But yeah, but as I said, I usually, like, a lot of my habits, like when I was housed, there were a lot of things that I did not do with my homeless life. Certain things I'm forced to have to do, or places I'm forced to have to go because of me being homeless and having nowhere to go and just trying to survive. But like when I was housed, had my own place, you didn't really see me, well, seldom, go to coffee shops or, you know, unless there was nowhere else to go. Like when I had my place to live in Los Angeles, and when I would try to go to USC campus to use the Wi-Fi, and then but if the campus was closed for the holidays, then I would go to the Starbucks. You know, you have to be a customer and buy something and then go to the Starbucks over there, you know. But other than that, like on a daily basis, you know, I wouldn't even really go to Starbucks or the coffee places. Excuse me, but you know, I really wouldn't go to the coffee places and stuff, you know. But only when I was cornered to have to do so. But like, I really wouldn't go, even in New Orleans, I wouldn't really go to Starbucks, but because of me being homeless, and you know, it would be 4:30 in the morning and freezing cold, and that would be one of the first things that will open up. And I heard that they're shutting down lots of Starbucks locations. But they would have that Starbucks location that would open at 4:30, and I would go there, and you know, but I would try my best to not do it, but my body would shut down from being sleep deprived for days, and then I would get treated like as if I'm making myself fall asleep on purpose. And I'm like, well, I can't help it. I'm days of sleep. I haven't had sleep in days, and now my body's finally shutting down, and me fighting to stay awake, and then you get wrongfully kicked out or whatever, you know. But, you know, it was freezing cold, and I would have nowhere to go, you know. But there was a point in time when IHOP would allow, or whatever, would allow you to, they would handpick what homeless people they're allowed to sit in all night. If it's like IHOP or Waffle House or something like that, if they handpick their favorite homeless people, if they're allowed to. But when it comes to me, if I could be, and look, there could be homeless and buy nothing, and they could sit in the Waffle House and fall asleep. But then if I go there and I'm a paying customer, and they don't care how cold it is, and they're like, no, you can't, no, you can only eat for 30 minutes and then you have to leave. You can't stay here. But then there's a homeless person who could stay there all night and bought nothing, and they could sleep and use the bathroom and do whatever and be protected. And I figure that's gang stalking related, you know. And like, how do you do this in front of my face? So, this hypocrisy, how you do it in front of my face? But, you know, but yeah, I'm sitting here having a whole doggone I'm just having a whole, like, talk about some doggone coffee. But anyway, so yeah, like, the fake foster mom and her daughter and the daughter's husband, they all conspired to force me to stop drinking coffee. Because the foster mom, you know, hated just because the coffee was Costa Rican or something associated with Spanish, you know. And so, you know, but it's like, due to the gang stalking attacks and forced social isolation and everything, it's like I was forced to have to, I see that I wasn't getting to go anywhere, you know, so it seems like as if I was forced to have to give up fighting for trying to pursue Spanish translation. After I see that they were stopping me from succeeding with the biology degree or whatever, or the pre-med degree, I tried to see about Spanish translation. They ruined that too. And they try to make like my goals were unrealistic. My goals and stuff, you know, were unrealistic. Now, I started off in the fake foster mom, Adrian Felder, and the biological gay brother, Mark. I've overheard them have conversations about them bragging about me having a 4.0 in my major in Spanish, you know, and that I was doing so well and excellent in Spanish. But when you have a fake perp for a college professor that's gonna manipulate and maneuver and set you up to make it look like you failed when you could have succeeded, but they narcissistically give you whatever fake grade, whatever fake failing grade they want, or try to make things extra hard for you and single you out and choose favoritism and try to manipulate for you to feel discouraged. Cause you know, if I would have had the right professors, or if the professors would have treated me fairly, I could have had, if it weren't for this gang stalking, I could have had much higher GPA in college and stuff. And if it weren't for the family sabotage, foster and biological family sabotage, and dealing, if it weren't for their sabotage and abuse, you know, I could have excelled way better in college. And it's like they would do stuff like throw off my focus or whatever. Now, in 2004, January, that was a new semester at University of New Orleans, and I started off with I think it was 18 hours of college, you know, 18 credit hours. Like, I had 6 classes, and I had to drop down to, I think, 9 hours. I had to, I had to drop multiple classes, and I started failing for the rest of the semester and got thrown off because after my twin sister lied on me and said that I tried to kill Raven. And then in 2005, before Hurricane Katrina, when the biological sister Ramona set me up in that car accident via witchcraft and voodoo, and attempted to blood sacrifice me in a car accident. Then, like with English classes and everything, and she wanted to set me up to fail, my grades started going down. And it's like, once you get thrown off track, and set behind even a week, it seems like you end up being far behind and can't catch up. And like, because they throw a lot of schoolwork on you with college, where you're forced to idolize and worship that one teacher's class or whatever. And it's like, how the hell do they expect you to read like 5 and 6 chapters out of 4 different history books per night, and then like do an exam or like an essay the next day, and I mean, and then it's revisionist history, or what they say, and it's like they're not even giving us the truth. They just, they're brainwashing and indoctrinating us with lies, and then they keep us, excuse me, preoccupied with learning lies. And I thank Michael Jackson for saying, that the history books are all lies. And he would tell y'all it's a conspiracy. See, they lied on Michael Jackson. I feel like a dummy that I believed the lies too when I was younger and didn't know the truth. And the mainstream media, they try to get you to hate that celebrity, or hate this person, and hate that person, or despise this person. And come to find out, Michael Jackson was innocent, and they falsely framed him. I am completely and truly sorry. And, they say Michael Jackson, Whitney Houston, and they didn't say Aaliyah, but I believe that Aaliyah was heavily targeted as well. And they have certain people that believe that they're being spiritually targeted too, or being stalked and harassed spiritually, even if it's not physically, but more like spiritually as well. So I mean, and then Aaliyah's uncle Barry Hankerson, there were a couple of other females that were associated with him that were heavily targeted and suffering gang stalking. And one of them, I forgot her name. She was forced homeless. She ended up being forced homeless. But she had a dirty dealing with him. But and Barry Hankerson, Aaliyah's uncle Barry Hankerson, had a girlfriend, like she was young enough to be his granddaughter. And she was an Asian girl, and he blew up her car. And that man should be he should be put away in prison. It's like all the grimy, dirty things, just because your ass is a fake satanic Freemason, though. So yeah, I'm just talking, y'all. I'm just, venting, But yeah, so I feel like I went to college for nothing. I feel like I went to college for nothing. And if I feel like my whole life was just a waste. And basically, it seemed like, from like I mean like so basically, my life was not always like this. I mean, there had been times when I had attempted to try to tell y'all like how my life was before 2019 and 20, and every time I tried to tell y'all, it seemed like they mess up the video or find ways to stop the video from uploading, or they illegally hacking and erase the doggone video. Every time I try to tell y'all, detail what my life was like before 2019, before I had to deal with the gang stalking or whatever. But like I used to have stabilized housing off and on throughout the years as an adult, and but I would end up having a place to live for 4 years, and then end up homeless for a month or two or a couple of weeks, and then get another place for or be homeless for a few months and then get another place, and for a certain amount of time, like another 4 years. And after graduating from college, I could not get a job. Been forced unemployed for over 11 or 12 years. And even when I was living in Denton, Texas, even McDonald's jobs would reject me. And it was hard. I was suffering depression. What asshole thought it was a good idea to transport us to places like Denton, Texas, where there's nothing and no transportation? The bus transportation, it really sucks. It was unreliable, and the bus drivers weren't doing their jobs properly. They were never on time. They would come when they feel like it, and the bus drivers were satanic, narcissistic perps, and they tried whatever they could to wrongfully, permanently ban me from riding the buses there. And that was before I knew anything about gang stalking or being targeted. It's and then they had certain job opportunities that I could have had where they would sabotage the transportation on purpose so I couldn't get the interview for that job that could have been a good paying job with good paying money. I try to look into work at home or work from home jobs, and people on Yahoo Answers used to call that a scam, or say that there's no such thing as work at home or work from home. I'm like, well, how do these other people talk about work at home or work from home or stay at home jobs and stuff? Why can't I do something like that since I don't have transportation? I had a laptop, and it's they had a lot of people that wanted to set me up for failure and would not point me in the right direction on how I can be independent and be an entrepreneur or run my own business or whatever. And it seemed like I spent lots of my days in Denton, Texas. Because I could, I felt defeated. I did take up some college even in Denton, Texas after I graduated from UNO in 2007 and 2010. I made 2 different attempts at going to college, like what they call post-baccalaureate or whatever. And, I tried to take up more college courses in Denton, Texas. And they had certain, dealing with family abuse and being perped by the professor and being bullied and ganged up on by other college students. And for me to have emotional meltdown and break down and cry, and I even tried to take examinations through NYU, and that professor was a perp. Her name was Allison Dundee, and she from New York University, NYU, and when I try to take Spanish translation exams, it seemed like she wanted to manipulate and set me up to fail, and or she refused to give me the test if I would pay for the test, and she would play psychological games and be evil. And then so the New York thing didn't work out, so that's why I made attempts at trying to move to Los Angeles, and did not realize that, you know, I would be forced into homelessness. And then I got the Section 8, and they gang stalked me out of my home. And you know, I was so poor that I did not get to afford the money to get to take up courses or take up classes where I could take up Spanish translation classes in Los Angeles, because I was supposed to try to get to go to Cal State University and take up Spanish translation courses, and that way if I could have had a career in Spanish translation and have a job. And they said that I could have been earning hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, but they want to keep me forced poor and forced homeless and in the system, you know, where I could be controlled and following rules, being forced to have to follow rules and be controlled. I have a bachelor's degree, but almost barely made it out. But my GPA is low. Overall GPA 2.3. But I had like 2.7 or 2.8 in my major. But before then, I started off with 4.0 for the first like couple of semesters or a couple of years or something. And then because of the gang stalking attacks and family abuse, my grades started going downhill. And all these manufactured fake crisis and bullying and then they will wait till a couple of days. They wait till my family will wait until exam week to start bullying and picking on me, and on purpose to make me feel too depressed to be able to focus or concentrate on passing exams, so that, you know, I can, you know, excel, you know. So they created every avenue that they could, you know, to set me up for failure and keep me forced poor, forced homeless. The fake foster family, they didn't want to see me advance or succeed. I was in high school, and the foster mom, you know, would try to sabotage everything. Even when I would try to get my own job and be independent, she did not want me to work. She did not want me with a job, and she wanted me to be forced to live on Social Security for the rest of my life. But they sat there and they pushed me to go to college, but then try to be controlling on what they think I should major in or which college I should go to. My original plan was to graduate from West Jeff High School, and then if I had things my way, I would have liked to, and I don't know why I didn't dream of going to colleges out of state, but my focus was, I wanted to go to LSU in Baton Rouge. I wanted to go to LSU and major in biology pre-med and become an OBGYN, and I also wanted to like minor in Spanish and major in OBGYN, minor in Spanish, and I also wanted to go into the Air Force. I wanted to go into the Air Force. And all those, and they figured I was too crazy or too disabled to go into the military. So what they did was, the fake foster family manipulated, and they were gang stalking me the hardest, like my senior year in high school. I was bullied at school. It's like they were trying whatever they could to stop me from getting, they were trying to hinder me from graduating. and they didn't want me to graduate with honors. They didn't want me to graduate, period. They kept trying to bully me to the point where they were trying to manipulate for me to give up, and it's like they were trying to act like as if they were trying to get me to get frustrated and just quit and drop out of school. So people could say, wow, you were almost at the finish line. Why would you wait until your senior year in high school when you were almost done to quit and give up? And it was like that with college too. Like every dream that I had of career success, it was like they thought it was unrealistic so that they can continue to control and abuse me. Excuse me, they making my nose itch. And so that they can continue to control and abuse me and just keep me, what people say, coercively infantilized or forced handicapped. You know, and now, in financially or mentally, or, you know, due to the gang stalking attacks, forced homelessness, and I can barely work on my writings and have my mind focused, so I damn sure could not, like, I could not go back to school, go back to college, or even go to, like, I couldn't even go to, Delgado or nothing, like go to, well, I mean, what trades are there for a female? But I couldn't even go back to any school because I know that they would perk me out of the school and force me to have to resign or quit. You know, they would mob me out of the school. And like when I was going to Nichols State University, they kept on setting up gang stalking scenarios. They were trying to manipulate and set me up to get expelled. And try to make like I'm a problem, you know. And especially in the dorms, and the foster mom used to have the people at Nichols State University to stalk and spy on my every move and then go report back to her. I was an adult. I was 18, 19 years old. And, you know, but I mean, I wanted to go to either UNO or LSU, but I would have wanted to go to LSU more than UNO, but UNO was one of my dream colleges too, but it ended up not being how I expected it. But I never got to enroll in LSU, you know, Louisiana State University in Baton Rouge, you know, but I did get to go to UNO, but the experiences were better. Like, it's like in Nichols, they were ghetto, and you didn't get more like peace and quiet or whatever. And they said Nichols was a party college, you know. But like at UNO, like Nichols, like everybody used to try to meddle in other people's business, but like at UNO, like people, like in years ago, you know, people more so minded their business at UNO, you know. And at UNO, the foster mom wasn't really micromanaging me like that, you know. But even in 2006, after Hurricane Katrina, the fake foster mom would call the Spanish department and try to, you know, keep tabs on me while I had the summer work study job, you know, right before graduating, you know. And I had an emotional meltdown and cried, and there was like after Hurricane Katrina in 2006, like I was depressed to the point where with the work study and stuff, I would be depressed and miss like a whole week of work or whatever, because of, you know, going through so much. And, you know, even in 2005, after Hurricane Katrina, in 2006, I was like suicidal, depressed, and like very depressed. You know, just had certain days where I just went really crazy. You know. But then again, I heard there were a lot of people who were suicidal, depressed after Katrina, or a lot of us were mentally fucked up in the head and like had that severe PTSD or trauma, you know. I'm trying to well, my eyes started filling up with tears, But even as years of 2009 and 2010, I was still like affected from the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina, and it's like it took us years to rebuild the city and rebuild psychologically, mentally, emotionally, whatever, and for to deal with perps and narcissistic abusers who tell me to my face that they didn't believe that like people in the mental health system, like I would be in other cities and states, and they would say stuff like, well, I don't believe you went through Hurricane Katrina, I don't believe you're from New Orleans, you're just lying for attention, and you don't have PTSD, and even like the stalkers will still try to say Candy's lying about being from New Orleans. She's not from New Orleans. Well, they stole my birth certificate. I mean, when they stole all my stuff in that bag, my birth certificate was in there. But how can you believe my twin sister saying, yeah, we from New Orleans, but when I say it, you're like, oh, Candy's lying about being from New Orleans. And that's the gang stalking games that they try to play, But I mean, they have been hindering me. They have been hindering me pretty much for years. For years. All my life. I've been forced poor all my life. And I'm going to say that I've been, every day I'm upset and I'm trying to figure out, how am I in this predicament? How is it so hard for me to get a job? How is it so hard for me to have a place to live? How is it so hard for me to even have a meal to eat, or struggle for me to have a meal to eat? How is it so hard for me to, or how is it impossible for me to get to have the opportunity to have a car and be driving? I have a freaking license. And I'm angry every day that I'm prevented and just hindered, held back. And I'm so sleep deprived that it seems like I'm still recovering from being on the streets for a week. Like even today, like I was upset, this morning when I was at breakfast, I thought in my head, being upset that I wish I could have a car and be driving. And one time I think it was 2017, me and my twin sister, when we got into one of our arguments, and she said, you jealous of everybody who has a car. She said, you jealous of anybody who's driving. You jealous of anybody who has a car. Let me translate that for y'all. Excuse me, they make my nose itch. So if she tried to make like, you're jealous of anyone who's driving, and you're jealous of anybody who has a car. You sold your soul for that car. And like for people to be way younger than me and whatever, they could easily get their hands on nice new cars and everything. And me, it's like I have zero way to get access to a car to be driving. Like none of my family love me enough to let me be driving their car. But they let other family members and friends of the family drive their car, and lovers drive their car. So my cousin, whore Rebecca, can let drunk lady Yvonne drive around in her car. And and I know, and I heard that Pete was letting my twin sister drive his car, I mean, that truck or whatever. I mean, Pete made false promises and lied and said he was going to let me, drive the car when I was by him. He lied about everything. And then he admitted to me that my twin sister told him, don't ever let Candy drive. Well, my twin sister had a freaking car. So like, y'all can have cars and drive, but then y'all don't want me with a car and driving. Mark can illegally have a car and drive around, but it was 2018 and I had my job at the zoo, and I was talking about one of my goals to try to get a car, and he got mad and yelled at me like as if I'm not supposed to have that. You don't tell me what to fucking do. You don't have authority over me. How would you like if you were working your own job and someone prevented you from getting a car? You would have a fucking meltdown too. How about if someone stopped Mark and Derek from driving? But they always get illegally have their hands on access to a vehicle. And they got criminal records too. Mark, going to jail or whatever for traffic tickets and this and that. Or having a warrant out for his arrest for traffic tickets. But that didn't stop him. Derek freaking been to jail before. Pete has been to prison. And how does Pete come out of prison with 3 vehicles and a house to live in and everything set, everything made? Pete wasn't, when I was by Pete almost a decade ago, Pete wasn't struggling. But I was in this predicament before jail or whatever, and like when I got wrongfully arrested and thrown in jail from being scammed on a MySpace in 2007, those records were expunged, and but even 2003, I still could not get a job anywhere. Now, I was freshly 18 years old going to college, and I did not realize that I was a victim of identity theft. And my family members do stuff like steal other family members' identity or stealing other people's identity. So my biological nephew John was stealing the biological brother Derek's identity for something at one point. I don't remember what it was, But like I was 18, I had just turned 18, and I did not know that someone, I don't know who it was, took out a Dillard's credit card or something like that in my name, and I don't know who it was. And I was 18, and they had like this Medicaid transportation I was supposed to get going to from the fake mental health psychiatrist, but the foster mom was mad that she felt like she was forced to have to take me to and from the psychiatrist after I was 18 and going to college, because when she's trying to set it up for me to have to get Medicaid transportation, and she said that I could not get the Medicaid transportation because somebody put it on, they had a false record that I was incarcerated before. Well, they didn't get that. They trying to say that I was incarcerated at that time. And I was 18. Before then, I had never been to jail. Never been to prison. Had never really committed a crime like that, But they said that there was on record that I was incarcerated, and that was why I could not get the Medicaid transportation. But the fake social workers and everything set it up where the foster mom would still be controlling me after I turned 18 and was of age, and I was my own payee for the Social Security checks and SSI, but I had to find that out on my own. Social Security Administration told me that I'm my own payee. And the foster mom lied to people and said that she was my payee over my checks. And I was completely capable of taking care of myself. The only thing is, like, if I'm filling out certain applications, like, you know, like apartment rental, or something like that. Mostly I could do that independently, but every now and then I might end up needing a little help, you know, a little bit of help here and there, you know, with filling out the application, just to make sure I got everything right. But you know, and when I go get my taxes done, you know, I fill everything out mostly independently, but only a couple of questions if I might be confused about. But, you know, I mean, if I can fill out my own taxes and stuff, and I don't know why people are trying to paint this false, even though I am disabled, but they trying to make it like as if I'm more disabled and more retarded than what I really am, you know. It's like they're trying to paint this false picture for me to be considered as more retarded, so that they can have more illegally steal more undeserved control and fake pseudo authority over me. Hold on, y'all. I have to go to the bathroom. I'm back, y'all. Those bastards nearly succeeded at force urinating me. So they nearly succeeded at force urinating me. So dang, I got a little bit of pee on the floor, but I sanitized it. But yeah. But as I said, now I kind of don't remember where I left off at, but it's like, I guess it's before I knew the truth about any of this, you know, I was wondering why was all my dreams and hopes in life were always sabotaged. And like, I would spend a lot of my time in Denton, Texas, moping and depressed, you know, when I didn't know that the internet and social media would advance like this. And, you know, even though I was not a believer in Jesus Christ at that time, and still either switch between atheism and cult beliefs, the fake IDMR cult beliefs, you know, I didn't realize that I probably should have just continued to just write anyway, or type, you know, novels or whatever, you know, and I probably could have just wrote this and wrote that, and I kept questioning for years, how could I write and become an author and be independent, you know. And even in 2009, I felt like I wanted to be an author and write, even in 2006, 2007, but with entrepreneurship or authorship or writing or whatever or anything, I thought that I needed someone's permission or someone's approval. And I'm like, well, how are people doing this? Like, and I hear stories about people being freelance translators, freelance interpreters, and it's like, well, how could I get to what could I do? Like, how do I start? Who do I talk to? How could I get to be like a freelance, you know, Spanish to English, you know, translator? But due to my disability and the 2 strokes I had when I was 5 years old, my mind is not sharp enough where I could be like an interpreter. But the translation, even that professor in Milwaukee told me that I had great potential on doing very well in Spanish translation. But what I guess certain people might say is just the trauma and dissociation related, why my mind can't stay focused, and me fighting out OCD, unwanted intrusive thoughts. Like if someone's saying something and I have to be the interpreter, I wanted to do stuff like medical translation and stuff like that too. I had so many big dreams and goals in my life that, everything got shattered. But I did not realize that in order to, become that success, it seemed like you got to sell your soul to the devil in order to fulfill that American dream. And then you'll still be a satanic slave, even with that. So you bastards did me a favor. But, I remember in transition between when I left Nicholls State University, when I was forced to have to resign or withdraw, and then between that and going to UNO, like in between that time, I kept on trying to get temp service jobs and wondering why nobody would hire me to work. And I used to work the Creole Queen and the Cajun Queen through some service called Black Tie Service. It was on Burgundy Street in the French Quarter in New Orleans. And I used to work the Black Tie Service, but not for long. And I tried a few other jobs. Like they had some job on some temp service, I think it was called Know-It-Alls on Poydras Street. And I tried to work for them. I don't remember what happened. Things didn't work out. But I mean, I don't know what got me into temp service, but I remember working at some hotel. It was off of Canal Street. And I don't remember what hotel it was, but one time I did like a laundry job. And I only lasted like one day because I couldn't deal with, the noise or whatever, But I never did a dishwashing job until, wait, you know what? I used to do the dishwashing job at Popeyes, but that was called the prep. That was my first job. That was my senior year in high school. So I think when I did the Black Tie Service with the Creole and Cajun Queen, when the Cajun Queen existed, the river boats, that I'm wrongfully banned from the Creole Queen now, and by the Riverwalk and all, because of the stalkers lied on me. Well, I did do like some dishwashing and washing pots and pans and washing and I think I did some table setting, or bussing tables or something like that, on the river boats, back in 2003. And it was hard to get a job, and they used to have this magazine called The Employment Guide that I used to try to go get a job, or I used to try to look through there, and it seemed like false hopes, and it's like nothing for me. And so now there's Craigslist, Indeed, ZipRecruiter, Glassdoor, and all these, and still can't get my foot in the door to work anywhere. And because the stalking cult criminals illegally swatted me and made fake prank calls because they want to traffic me, now I for sure cannot get a job. Like, I heard that it's illegal for these companies to not hire me to work if they're pending criminal charges and I have not been convicted, they said that I should still be allowed to work. So these temp service jobs saying that they're looking at, that they're looking at the background check, and for me to fail a background check over being illegally swatted and falsely accused, and so I have fake crimes, fake criminal charges that I'm still fighting. And it's like for these stalking cult criminals to come and flood my YouTube comments saying, get a job, get a job, get a job. But they're the ones, you're doing stuff to hinder me and stop me from getting a job. Fake Damnesia and your other stalkers, y'all need to turn yourselves in. But they won't. And they're so busy stalking and gossiping about me and spreading lies and trying to make me look bad and ruining my life and think it's funny. And they all false. They're trying to. They're doing all this from the internet. Like, how can you have the power to destroy me all from the internet? That's why I was trying to title the video. Like, how are you trying to destroy and murder me all from the internet? So, like, I'm wrongfully banned from the shelters of most hotels. I mean, saying like 3 or 4 years ago, even 5 years ago, people would say like, well, why don't you try to get a job at one of the hotels you be staying at? When I try to inquire about a job opportunity, they say you cannot work here and stay here at the same time because there would be a conflict of interest. But they would have those Filipino housekeepers at certain hotels in Pensacola, if they can work there and live there, or certain other Hispanics and people from India, the foreign people, they can work there and live there. But when it comes to me, you can't work here and stay here at the same time because there would be a conflict of interest. I'm like, well, hey, I tried. They would not allow me to work at a motel and, like, say, for example, if I could stay there at the motel in exchange for work. I mean, if I could work there, and if I could stay there for free in exchange for work. And like, if I try to, like, when I was working at the Pensacola State College with the janitorial in 2019, they would gang stalk me and hit me with weapons. And if I'm doing a janitorial, and even in 2021 at Gulf Breeze High School or middle school, if I can't bend down to clean the male urinals because they're squeezing my organs, or they would attack me so bad I would have to be forced to take the rest of the day off. If it weren't for the direct energy attacks, it would be co-workers bullying and harassing me so bad to the emotional meltdown that I would have to be forced to take the rest of the day off and quit. Quit for the rest of the day. And then I would end up losing out on pay. Or if they see me doing good and working 6 days a week and working like overtime, like 48 hours a week, and then the moment they see me doing good and get comfortable, and then that's when they see me financially comfortable, and the moment I start planning to have my eye on this $500 a month apartment or a house or a place to rent, or if I have my eye on this opportunity to try to see about having a goal to get a car, that's when they start reducing and I could think it in my head, I don't have to tell nobody. But once my finances start to get comfortable, they feel threatened by that, and then start to lower my hours and reducing my hours and then workplace mobbing me, and they would have coworkers and managers trying to lie on me and try to get me wrongfully fired, or they would try to drive me to be forced to have to quit, or they would workplace mob or perp me off the job. I can't deal with people. Just fuck people. Damn. You know? So, like, and I'm disabled with, I'm disabled with, I never lived in a tent before, and I have OCD, you know, and I have zero experience with camping. I never did like that camping before. And I never lived off the grid before. I never stayed out in the woods before. I researched and read a little bit about it, but I don't know how to put it to use or put it to practice. And with my disability, there are certain things that I don't know how to do or I can't do well. You know. And you know, I don't really have many hands-on survival skills. You know, and how could I go to the woods, or where could I go to the woods or off grid that's not considered trespassing? Where or how could I go, and how would I get there with no car? And how could I survive with just the clothes on my back and me? You know, how would I get food, or, you know, how would I get the money or whatever, you know? Now, in 2019, people in the TI community, they used to push me up and encourage me to ask for donations. And they used to say, get a GoFundMe, get your CashApp, get your GoFundMe, and raise donations for a van, and just live off of donations. Lots of people were doing that and asking me to do that. And people in the TI community, that would handpick who to be supportive of and help. You know, but if I try to ask for funds to get a car, the stalking cult criminals, when they see that the videos start gaining traction, they will hurry up and shut the video down. And like stop me from, it's like they don't want me with any freedom or independence, because they want me to be forced to have to be dependent and needy so that people can remain and you know, keep me under control, or keep controlling me. And my independence and freedom is a threat, because then they say that when the target can make their own money and have their own job and stuff, the gang stalkers make less, they get less money off of you. Anything you do to try to stay alive and be independent and more free, because, you know, and they said that's why it's trafficking, because they want to keep you forced homeless, keep you forced unemployed and dependent and needy, so that they can control and abuse you more and get like brownie points for it. But if you work in your own job, have your own car, and you got support, then that's a threat, and they can't earn as much. They can't, you know, fraud as much money. Forget earning. You're not earning by doing cruelty and abuse. That's not earning money. So they committed and for people to talk about, you know, oh, you're about to talk yourself into an arrest, or you're about to talk yourself into handcuffs. They said to go ahead and people said go ahead and explain to the cops that that you should alert the cops that you're being swatted and that you haven't done anything, and that they do this all the time. So that was all I was trying to explain, that I did not make that call and I'm being illegally swatted, and they weren't trying to listen to me. And I think I saw some of those officers before. So but when people make complaints that, oh, Candy's screaming, I suffer Tourette's, and they trigger my Tourette's on purpose and then lie and say I don't have Tourette's. But then when I make complaints and say people are blasting loud music, they say, oh, but this is the public, they could do whatever they want. But then if they want to say, oh, you're screaming, you should leave the park, or you should leave the library, or you're banned from here, you're trespassed from here. But other people, they could blare or have noise campaign. Oh, this is the public, they could do whatever they want. And all the online cult criminals, their satanic cult, and all the malicious fake calls. I mean, what about when I'm sitting at the park, dozing off, falling asleep, and they illegally send the police to come and attack me for nothing? So they would pretend to be me and make false calls, and then, pretend it like as if I'm the one who made the false police call. Or they pretend to be my family members, or pretend to be someone I know. Or they would make fake, and it seems like the cops are in cahoots with the perps. But when I make a police call, they ignore me. When NOPD and Harbor Police have never got back to me when they lied and said that they would help me with the cyber stalking and cyber harassment and the threats. And the same ones stalking and harassing me, they got cars to drive, they got loving families, stocked food pantries. They can have a job and nobody's stopping them from working. Or they can earn a living by just stalking what I do 24/7 without a break, and they don't get sleep. They're willing to lose sleep on stalking my every move. Stalking and watching my every move. I'm trying to figure out, so I hate that they're dragging a fake court case and leaving the fake criminal charges lingering. And how can someone help me get these fake charges dropped? I don't have the money for a truthful lawyer. And people just sitting there watch me go down. Where's the help? And then I lose more support when I start calling people fake when I'm in a crisis. Because people are being fake. When people betray and turn their backs on you and become defakers, they turn their backs on you and kick you down even harder when you're in the biggest crisis. So many people watching me be murdered before your eyes. Like, even in the so-called TI community, there should be more support and help. But there is none. So, for now, I heard that they don't have any intentions on dropping the fake criminal charges against me, and they're trying to find ways to falsely make me look guilty so that they can put it on my record, and it's ruining my life. And all this because I'm not selling out and not joining the cult. How am I supposed to live? How am I supposed to survive? It's like they are systematically murdering me and cutting off my life supply. Like any things that I need to sustain my life. And it's like the fake bad reviews on my writings and stuff, it's like totally fiction. Totally false. Like, for them to maliciously lie on purpose so that I can't earn a living. If you really want me to job with a job, go back to the NOPD, go back to Jefferson Parish Sheriff's, go back to Gretna Police, go back to Pensacola, Florida, and admit that you lied on me. Admit, but they won't do it. But it's like my cries for help are being ignored. If I try to show someone in person being illegally swatted, they just, watch the first 5 seconds of the video, turn their head, and give me back my phone. When I try to share my writings, they just read like barely the first sentence and then turn their head and give it back to me and lie and say, oh, your short story, it's really good, Candy. Like, motherfucker, you barely read the first sentence. And you give it back to me and turn your head and be like, oh, it was really good. And you just be a fake as hell. Where are the real people? Where's anybody that's sincere? So, for the small amount of sincere people, it's a shock. It's a shock for the small amount of sincere people that support me. But the stalkers are trying to turn them to the cult and make them hate me. Trying to make them, the nice people, betray me. And trying to make them go against me. And they have succeeded. And how desperate they are to go. I mean, for people to say, just ignore the stalkers and they will stop and leave you alone. Well, I seldom acknowledge Cindy and the fake aggressive defiance TV perp and certain other perps and their fake videos, and they still pumping out video after video after video full of lies about me. So ignoring them does not make them stop and go away. But then they're getting their fake attention fed from other perps. And, and certain people try to make excuses and justifications for the perps. But for me to say I'm screaming because I got Tourette's and you're triggering me, that's no excuse. But then you got excuses for why targets flipped and became perps. Ask Cindy when she was during her targeting days, has she ever been locked up in a mental institution? Has she ever been to jail? Has she ever been homeless? So how am I supposed to survive if, because of fake criminal charges, I'm wrongfully cut off of all aspects of society? And then I have not been convicted. But that fake prosecutor didn't know what the hell he was talking about, lying and saying that I was convicted on 2 counts of criminal mischief and that I was convicted of this and convicted of that. No, I was not convicted because the fake public offender said that the criminal charges have been dropped from, that they're off my record, that they're not on my record no more. And then for these, I'm still fighting in court. I've not been convicted. So in the meantime, what jobs could I get? I'm not prostituting, I'm not gang stalking, and I'm not going to. And I'm not participating in the trafficking. I'm not going to do any of that to survive. Let me live a normal life. Or is that what y'all call your freaking normal? Stop trying to control me. Stop trying to control people. Leave people fuck alone. Y'all stop stalking and harassing and following people around and spreading lies and trying to ruin people's life. Let me work on my writing in peace. Let me live stream in peace if that's what freaking earns me money, even if it earns me $100 a month. Let me do it. That's $100 less that I have to ask for, okay? But they're trying to make my presence, my social media and online presence invisible. Like, how the hell for me to have nearly 2,000 Twitter followers for I had that account for over 4.5 years. And for me to post something and only get 13 views and 0 retweets, 0 likes or nothing like that, you know, or everybody ignoring me and not paying attention, or for me to post something on YouTube and have like almost 5,000 subscribers and could get not one view, not one like. Not that I'm here for views and likes or nothing. That's not the case. But I'm trying to get my story out. It's not about views or likes at all. But for some people to see my struggles, my suffering, what I'm going through, the attempted murder on my life. For people to have so many questions on why my life the way it is, I'm letting y'all know and I'm telling y'all, and the stalkers keep trying to censor me. Trying to hinder me. Trying to silence me. To cover up what they're doing. And then they want to spread a bunch of lies and nitpick and point out Candy's doing this, Candy's doing that to cover up what they're doing. And it's stuff that they're saying about me, it's not even true. Like, if they lied and said Candy has never worked a day in her life, and my twin sister heart and liked their comments. She knows I worked before. I actually worked more than she did, and I'm supposed to be the one that's more disabled than her. So she said she lied about that Burger King job, but she only got to work at Pizza Hut, and then the fake military just for show, and then she'd been set for life behind a lie. And ain't financially struggling. But then last year she tried to mock my homelessness and mock my suffering. And actually got rid of her car. Or let Tierra destroy her car because she wouldn't let me drive. And we're twins. She is the younger twin and make like she has to illegally maintain fake control over everything. Who's the narcissist here? Let me get off here. I'll talk to y'all later.